Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our guest today, Alexandra Angélique Leeper. Hi,
Hi.
I'm Melissa Minnich, author of High on Life, A Prescription for Bliss, and live event host for Humanity's Team, a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization whose mission is to make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. I'm coming to you live from Austin, Texas, and we are so excited to have Alexandra join us today. How are you, and where are you connecting from?
I'm doing great. I'm currently in Boulder, Colorado.
Hmm. I'm going to be coming up that way soon. I got to get some nicer weather. I want to welcome Alexandra Angelique's audience, the Scene Network, those streaming live through the Humanities Team Facebook page, our Humanities Team YouTube channel, and Stream Plus members that are here in the green room with us. Hello. Thanks for being members. And for those of you that are on camera, welcome everyone. And because this is a live program, we'll have time for questions and comments. So try to get your questions in within the first 30 to 40 minutes of the program. Post it in the chat and we will answer it. We love to have live interaction. So please get your questions. We love a typical Hollywood producer. Her company, Living Light Productions, aims to raise consciousness in Hollywood and beyond by making movies that not only inspire but energetically transform viewers. With his vision to support the birthing of a new world, Alexandra has produced beautiful films such as Yogis of Ukraine and Awaken. And as a 20 plus year practitioner of yoga, she created Introductions, aims to raise consciousness yoga course for women ready to rise. And that is what we're going to be talking about today, women ready to rise. So welcome, Angelique.
Thank you. Thanks so much. It's nice to be here.
Well, I'm excited because we've had a bit of a conversation before. We talked about your amazing production and the time when and you were just on your way to the Ukraine and you've been working with creating this movie. Today we're switching a little bit. We're going to be talking about this your inner queen, but I definitely want to still touch back for a moment when we get there to talk more about like what you experienced when you were in Ukraine recently. So you have this rich, like multi-dimensional background actor, dancer, yogini, producer, visionary creator. Can you kind of just share a bit of your journey through all of this multifaceted ways that was brought you to where you are today?
Absolutely. Yeah, I started out as an actress, training to be on Broadway, and I went through the New York University program for that, coming out of high school and into college. And the timing of that, basically, I graduated and was cast in my first show, and 9/11 happened in New York City. So I was kind of thrown onto a different path than the one that I had been training for since childhood. And I think the living through 9/11 when I was in my early 20s and just starting my professional career really changed me on a deep spiritual level. And kind of, I guess I started seeking a deeper spiritual connection. And that's when I found Kundalini yoga. I moved to Los Angeles and got very involved with Golden Bridge, which was a big yoga center there at the time, and started working there for Gurmukh, teaching, doing the training, teaching. And that led me into producing my own films, with the passion of combining my spiritual orientation with my creative background. And that's kind of where it's all led to today. I've been working since almost 20 years now on creative development of feature films. And my most recent one is my first documentary that I've worked on, Yogis of Ukraine. And it's been the past 2 years that we've been working on it. And it's about some really inspiring, amazing next level yogis who are healing in Ukraine during the war, and they're working with the military on the front lines, bringing yoga and healing and recovery to people who are in active warfare, which is an unprecedented event, and it's growing and growing very quickly over there. It's like hundreds of people now doing this. And so we were fortunate to be asked to come and film, and we got really pulled into the story. So we've pretty much been dedicating all our time to it for the past couple of years now.
Yeah. And this dedication has taken you over, obviously, to the Ukraine. I'm going to share a little bit about your recent trip there, and because the film is made now, right? And you were over there sharing the film. And so, what happened, and what was your experience while you were just recently over there over this summer?
So we went over there in June to show the film to the 35 women who are interviewed and featured in the film, and some of the military men who were in the film. And we're still completing the final step of the music score. So it was a private screening. We haven't screened it publicly in any festivals or anything at this point. But we wanted to make sure that they all liked it before we took it out into the greater world, and that they were happy with how they were represented. So we made the decision to go over there. My whole team went. There were four of us who went. And it was a big decision for me. The director of the film, Bob, who's my creative partner, had been there twice before to do the interviews, and he had already kind of come to peace with the knowledge that he would likely be in some kind of a missile experience if he went back there, or that it was a good chance that he would be. It's such an ongoing experience there right now that they're being attacked, in Kyiv multiple times per week. I was initially not eager to go, um, just because 9/11 was very traumatizing for me, and I wasn't sure how I'd be impacted to go through that, and I didn't want to put my mom through it, to be honest. Um, and then we had two other producers, but we all ultimately decided we were going to go there and meet them in person, that it felt important to us to connect with them in person. And so we went and we got a hotel right in the center of Kyiv, by the beautiful statue, the angel statue that's featured in our film. And the first 3 nights were quiet, and we thought we were like, we had a lucky streak going. But then the alarms went off the fourth night, which is a very eerie experience because you don't really know what to do. You've been told you can go down to the bomb shelter, you can get in the bathtub. They say get away from the windows. Like there's all these tips about how to handle it when the alarm goes off, but ultimately you don't really have much control if you happen to be hit.
Mm.
Um, the final night we were there for a full week. The screening went very well. We got through the screening with no alarms, and we had a really amazing connection with the whole group of women that came, and men. There were a few men. And we did a yoga circle with them after the screening. We got their feedback on the film. We gave them all a copy of the book, because there's also a book that goes with that's the same title of the film. And we printed the 40 books in Ukrainian, gave them all a gift of the book. They had us all sign it, which was really cute. And it was a lovely trip. The final night we were there was considered one of the largest missile attacks since the beginning of the war on Kyiv. And it was very intense for us because our hotel walls were shaking, and the explosions were very, very loud. Like it was just a mile away from where we were. So there was definitely one of the producers on my team was very traumatized. We definitely all had to address the fact that we might be killed, because it's impossible not to feel that way or think about that. We were fortunate that we weren't hit, and we had a train ticket out the next morning at 6 a.m. and we traveled to the train station, and luckily we're able to get out, and we didn't go through anything personally, but a friend of ours who's in the film, her mother's area was hit that night. She was going to come meet us at the train station to see us off, but she couldn't because her mother's neighborhood was hit. And it's just an ongoing experience. I think what was most interesting for me about it was the fact that I was out the first night walking around town when the alarm went off, and I went back to my hotel because you're supposed to take cover, you know. But most people on the street didn't change what they were doing. They just kind of casually, it's so normal there that this attacking that they pretty much just go on with whatever they're doing, a lot of them. And it's a very surreal experience if you're not used to being in a war zone, to see how people have adapted to it. And obviously you feel so much compassion for the kids and for everybody that you see on the street. And so yeah, it was an intense experience. And then we had an 18-hour train ride to get back to Poland, which is where we were heading after that.
What a
So
powerful experience to see how we get conditioned, the human body gets conditioned, and the mind gets conditioned into a certain way of being because they've been there for so long and they're just kind of like, okay, this almost becomes like the normalcy of where we're moving and what's happening. And I kind of see like when we talk about the work that you do with awakening the Kundalini and the inner queen, it's like almost like taking that deconditioning us, right? That programming that we have built up around us that causes someone that to walk through a war zone and just not even notice that it's like that's an extreme example, but if we take that and move it into our personal world and really think about like how conditioned are we on a daily basis, right?
mhm.
And so I really feel like this is like the perfect segue of like understanding like the power of what happens when we can use processes that will allow us to rise and to awaken. And that's what we're here to chat about today is really understanding this Kundalini energy and the inner queen, the awakening of that. So one of the things that you mention in you say that Kundalini is a process of stripping away what stands between us and our highest destiny. Can you explain a little more? Because I mean, we hear a lot about Kundalini, like Kundalini rising, and the moving of the snakes and the energy and all these things. But this is a really beautiful way when you say this is the process that stands between us and our highest destiny. So share with us your journey into the inner queen and how this shows up in your work with the Kundalini.
Yeah, so for me, Kundalini yoga has been such a huge part of my life. I found it, like I said, after 9/11, and then I've practiced it and studied it very deeply and extensively for over 20 years, on and off, not the whole time. But what I've experienced myself is that we have all of these challenges that we're kind of attempting to overcome in our lives, like traumas and addictions and um, illnesses and grief and all kinds of things like this. And I find that the Kundalini practice for me has been incredibly effective in helping me overcome these things. I've gone through a lot of trauma and a lot of darkness in my life, and I've been lost in it for periods of time, and I know what it feels like, and I think everybody living on the planet can relate to that. And for whatever reason, and it's a bit of a mystery with these yogic tools, why they work so well, we don't really know. But for me, having practiced many different yogas, I find that they're all effective, but Kundalini kind of feels like a fast track to stripping, I won't say stripping away, but allowing a deep healing to happen and allowing your higher self or your potential or your connection to a higher purpose to come forth. And largely for me, that has happened as a result of the healing of the things that distract us. We get distracted. We could be distracted or depressed for months about something, or we could lose someone, or there's so many things that happen to us in life. And I think if we have these tools that are effective in reconnecting us to our spirit, to our breath, to our potential, to just feeling better, on a daily basis, where you wake up, like I wake up every morning and do my practice. And if I don't do that, I'll have an okay day. if I do it, I'll feel great from the very beginning of my day. And that obviously lays out what comes after that in terms of how organized I am, how effective I am. So I think what I
Mm.
find exciting about Kundalini in terms of the potential for it is that, especially working in the creative arts, I just think there's so much space for more elevated content and to be absorbing stories that aren't afraid of traveling into the darkness, but that ultimately bring us back to a place of self-empowerment and remembering how much power we have as individuals so that we can do amazing things in the world and do the things that we really want to do, that we feel really called to do. I think there's so many ways we can get distracted from that, just from an economic or financial perspective. Certainly, the arts is a hard path for a lot of people, or any passion pursuit can be challenging because you're having to prioritize what you feel is really why you're here or what you are excited about with survival and all the things. So I guess it's kind of a roundabout answer, but I feel like these tools are very effective for um, clearing away the noise, reminding us of our own creative power. And I do feel a lot of sort of higher guidance that comes through when I do these practices in terms of I'll just have a lot of ideas come through about how to navigate a challenging situation. Or, like, one example for that is I've been attempting to raise the money to finish my film for quite a while now. And it's a hard sell because it's a documentary film, and there's always high risk with creative projects, investing, and there's just some expenses that we have to cover that we can't fulfill ourselves, like recording the orchestra of the score being the big one. And I've recently, just in my meditation, had a very out of the box idea about how to actually successfully do this. And it's totally a different paradigm than what I was thinking before. And I just think in our lives, the clearer we are, the more we're able to kind of hear whatever the guidance or the alignment that allows us to move forward. So that's been my journey with Kundalini. And the Inner Queen class I designed specifically for women. I'm also teaching now. I'm creating an online platform that's called Radical Harmony that's for men and women. I've realized recently that I'm not teaching nearly as much as I could be, and largely because of the film stuff. But the people that I do work with are having such an amazing results from the Kundalini work together that I just all of a sudden realized, like, I should be teaching multiple classes per week because it brings me so much joy to see that happen for people. And I think we need these tools, and we need them to be presented in a way that's not a lot of times in these lineages, the power that people get distracted by the power that they can garner as teachers, and there can be some corruption in these worlds. And I know that that's not my motivation, so I just want to be part of the group of people that's actually presenting this for the right reasons and really to help people. So um, so yeah, the Inner Queen class, which is the one up on Humanity's Team, is designed. It's a 4-week class. It goes pretty deeply into the practices. There's also some journaling and some other exercises just to remind us as women, like, this is our time to rise and really help this planet heal at this crux of a consciousness awakening. And women are doing that more and more. So that was the inspiration for that course.
Beautiful. Let's cue the first reel.
I've had this vision for this Inner Queen course for about 3 years. This idea of bringing women together in a sacred ceremony setting to really ground into our unique power as women, as healers on the planet, especially during this time of transition and awakening that's happening with all the conflicts that are happening. Many of you know that I'm a filmmaker, and Bob and I are working on a film about yoga in Ukraine. And it all feels very related to me in terms of being a conduit for healing. And I feel that sitting in a circle with women is one of the most powerful things we can do at this time. And using the technology of Kundalini yoga, it just works extremely quickly to help you heal through your own past traumas, childhood wounds, that we all have kind of matrixed into our field. Recent things, a lot of you are going through big transitions right now and changes and very painful things. And it just feels like a really wonderful opportunity as we get to know each other, and over the time we're together, and people start to feel comfortable and we kind of find our group energetic. I just want to facilitate support for the unique situations each one of you are in and place in your life. And the vision for Inner Queen is really about stripping away the things that are standing between us and our highest destiny, and being supportive energetically to each other as we do that. So, we might have emotions come up, or, as we feel safer with each other over time. I'm glad that a lot of you are friends with each other, so we're not all meeting for the first time.
One of the things that you spoke about in that clip that I think is really powerful is the power of gathering in circle, right? This ancient wisdom, like we've been gathering in circles for millennia, and especially women, right? Gathering in circles. So what for you, and I think that this maybe even feeds into why you went to the Ukraine and like bringing them together and things like, what is it about when people come together and like gather in circle that you find to be so powerful, and especially in relation to when you're teaching the Kundalini work?
Um, I think it invites people to fully be present and participate. And I've been, figuring out this puzzle about our screenings, because I've had this vision to have, to screen our film and then to have a circle afterwards, which is very hard to do in a theater, space. And so we've been sort of trying to figure that out. But I've just noticed in my own life, like if I'm up on a stage presenting something, or you're in an audience or, watching something, there's an obvious role that we're both playing as watcher or creator or whatever presenter, that completely changes when you get into a circle, obviously. And it's when I teach, I love to teach in a circle. The Inner Queen class that I taught in the year that was filmed here, that's being presented here, was a group of women, and we all sat in a circle. I think it puts everyone on an even playing field, and it allows people, I think, to feel more open to sharing and being vulnerable and being truthful and feeling really welcome, to be that. Um, I've worked a lot with stages because I was an actress, and there's definitely a place for that type of format. But I'm always looking to include people in whatever I'm doing. So that's why I like circles.
I love it. And I found the power of that. Like what I say in our mystery school, we use a circle format. It's like I may be the teacher right now, but we are all on equal footing. There's no hierarchy here of like I am here and you are here. At one point, this is what I'm teaching, and yes, this is my magic or what I have studied and know and have integrated. But at some point, you're the one that is the teacher. And as someone that's sitting in that circle, what I have found in my own reality is that by putting myself in that position is not like I am this great teacher or whatever, but that I am an equal with everyone else. I receive just as much back as I am giving. So I actually tell my students, I'm like, I feel kind of selfish because I think I'm getting more than all y'all are because I'm getting it from everyone. I get this like energy. And so I think that that's really beautiful. Yeah, there is a time for being on the stage, or, allowing and being the force of nature that speaks the truth. But where the power comes is in the community of like, think of just like one, or do you want a multiple, right? Like the exponential of bringing minds together. That's, you know, that's what we have to think about, and that's what it is. So I love that you really do this. And so we're going to go now to the next clip, because I want to from I want to share this, and we're going to ask some questions about this next piece here. In several of your pieces, you use the healing bowls and then music and sound. For you, you know, that to me is like the adding of the creativity, and with this work to like combine those together. Like, what is that combination and that work? How does that work together, and what does that provide or add to the experience for people?
So in traditional Kundalini, there's a gong that's used, and it's generally the last thing that happens, or maybe it happens before the meditation, and it's a time for everyone to kind of lie down and allow all the energetic work we've been doing to integrate. And it's not always used. Not every studio has a gong. In this case, I was doing this class in a yurt up in the canyon, and the woman Raquel, who's playing the bowls there, is very experienced with the bowls, and she had all the bowls in the space for that purpose. So we decided to use the bowls instead of trying to navigate bringing a gong out into nature and through the whole thing. But that's sort of an explanation of why I thought of it. But really, I feel that Kundalini yoga is very transformative energetically. And while the exercises are not typical, or like they're not the kind of things you would find in a hatha class very often, and they're not as athletic, sometimes you feel like you've really moved a lot of energy. And when you lie down for Shavasana at the end, or maybe 3/4 of the way through, depending on how the class is organized, some kind of sound, whether it's music or the gong, or in this case, the sound bowls, helps you to really go into a deeper integration and allows, your mind to relax, I guess, deconnect from what you have to do next, or one of the, many things a mind can think about during yoga. But I really enjoyed co-creating that with Raquel because she has such an experience with the bowls and she was excited to play them. So everyone seemed to really like that part.
Mm. So you talk about this program is about the inner queen. What does that mean to you? What does inner queen mean?
It basically means the part of all of us women that is a queen, that is a leader, that is a visionary, that is healthy and vibrant and aligned with our own creative abilities. Obviously, for everyone, that's very different. The concept came to me a few years ago, actually, as I was thinking about how I might like to put together a specific course. Um, I feel really called to work with women because I feel like, especially now having worked on this film about this war, that there's a lot of hope in women coming together and really stepping into their capacities because I think the planet just needs that so much right now. And I always enjoy working with women because I just feel that there's such a deep level of connection that we can go to together that's specific to how women interact. And I also love working with men, and it's just a different kind of experience. But I think the inner queen is the part of each one of us that we can look to for guidance, and um, I think it's interesting to approach it that we all have kind of different sides of ourselves, and that if you feel yourself slipping, that there's this higher side of yourself that's there to hold you, and that's kind of where the idea came from.
Mm, beautiful. Really love that. We all have that, well, you're working with women in this one, so inner queen, but inner queen, inner king, that idea of that like nobility, the majesty, like we can hold ourselves in a certain way. And if we start to look at ourselves in that way, it kind of shifts our whole paradigm or view of how we can look at the world if I look at myself in that type of energetics. So one of the things that you just mentioned is like Kundalini yoga is, different than like hatha or vinyasa, different types of energy. For someone, maybe we didn't even go into that. So maybe for those that aren't quite sure or have, never worked with Kundalini energy, could we either explain a little bit about how it is different, then maybe show them, give them a process, maybe something that we can. Is there something we could share with them today to give them a little taste of it, I guess?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So the way that it's different, I would say, in the larger scheme of things, is that it's very energetic. So whereas a lot of yoga, especially in the West, has become very athletic and very physically oriented about body stuff, which is also a part of Kundalini. Um, Kundalini believes that we have 10 bodies. So there's like the subtle body, the radiant body, the negative mind, positive mind, neutral mind. There's all these aspects of ourselves, and we work a lot with those aspects. The Kundalini energy is coiled at the base of the spine, and it's a dormant energy that's there to be accessed should we desire to access it. And that's really what the practice does. So we do a lot of spinal work, like spinal flexes. We could do some of that. We do a lot of different breathing techniques that are good for different things. Like some of them are good if you're really stressed out, or if you're tired, there's a different breath. Or, you kind of learn how to, if you think of yourself as this very complex being, and maybe we're only aware of certain aspects of our complexity. I think Kundalini helps us to see more layers of what we're capable of. And we also have like thousands of meditations that are Kundalini meditations, and they're very specific. So everything is kind of like a formula when you're teaching Kundalini. You're working usually from a manual or from a set that's written out. Everything's timed down to the minute or the second. And it's it's just it's almost, I guess, to put it in simple words, it's like going very inner for the transformation. Like you're not looking out. Your eyes are closed most of the time. You're not doing headstands and handstands and other practices that I love from other yogas. But you're really working on your inner alignment. And sometimes you'll do something that's hard, like holding your hands up for an hour. Like, we get
Oh,
into some
yeah. Like
more.
I've done the one where you're like this, and you're like, okay, my shoulders are burning. Can we please? Yeah, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
the transformation, and that is how do you get the monkey mind to stop whining about the fact that my shoulders are hurting, right? And I have to come into. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of come to a place too when you do those more advanced practices or like white tantric yoga, which is full days of this kind of stuff, where you just realize, oh my God, I'm so much more powerful than I thought. Like I didn't think I could do this, and somehow you get past the pain, and then you're all of a sudden this other space where you're just like, I can totally do this. Then that sort of plays into other areas of your life.
Mhm.
Um, so it's a very cool practice. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're moving through and pushing and you can make it through that, then you realize, yeah, I'm this powerful being. So let's key up a clip from module 4.
Good. And now we're going to do a powerful breathing exercise, which is really good for fatigue and exhaustion, which we all have experience with, I'm sure. You can do this anytime. You'll notice how effective it is. So you're going to interlace your hands together with the fingers pointing up like this. And then you're going to flip your hands over. So the knuckles are like looking like this. Then you're going to bring the pointer fingers into like a little teepee and the thumbs pressed together. So you have a little shape like that. Then you're going to bring your right middle finger up and over your hand on the left side. So you're just resting it on the knuckle. And then you're just letting this little shape rest in front of you. So the arms are not strained, they're just resting. Your eyes are going to stay open, staring at this shape, which is important because you don't want to get spaced out. If you close your eyes, you'll get very spacey with this breath. So just keep the eyes open and focused. And we're going to do a breath in and out through a cannon breath through the mouth. So you're just going. Go ahead and start. The podium I'm playing right now is for abundance. Keep going with the breath. You guys are doing great. Breathe into your kidneys in the back. Feel your kidneys expanding on the inhale. Filling up with breath. Keep going.
Okay. So you were showing everyone something to do with their hands called a mudra. Can you explain what that's about? Why the mudra? Why the specifics? So that everybody kind of understand. Because this is multi-layered. Kundalini is about the energy rising in this yoga, but there's the music, there's the sound, there's the abundance you're playing, and then there's these hand movements too.
Muted. So yeah, the mudras are one aspect of the practice, and like I said, the the sets as they're written are so specific, like, you know, in that particular example, the exact finger positioning. I don't know how all of that works. You know, I don't think any of us could really understand. I know that, you know, when you touch different fingers together, it has a different impact. Like this ring finger and this thumb, if you press them together and do a certain breath, it brings energy like instantly. Um, I guess there's ways people have explained why the mudras work. I feel like it's all like a pretty big mystery because there are so many components to it. Um, and it feels sort of like magic in a way, but I think it sort of outlines how complex we are as humans and how maybe how much untapped ability we have to self-regulate, really. You know, I just feel like this particular practice is very sophisticated in its specificity about how to do things. And, you know, if you look at one of the sets or one of the meditations, it's just so specific. And I think there's a gift in that because it allows us to really focus in and access, you know, the details of how to take care of ourselves. And I don't know why it works.
On a core level, on a science, we are in our body's sacred geometry. We have sacred geometry within our bones, our blood, our DNA, within our energetic systems. And these actual movements are actually creating energetic forces with the sacred geometry. Because when we work with the field, everything comes from sound, turns into light, and behind all of that is sacred geometry. So think of seismatics when you see something and it creates a sacred geometry. All of those things are actually in your body. So when we're putting ourselves into specific yoga movements or in mudras, we're actually working with the sacred geometry that's in our bodies and in our fields to allow the energetics of the quantum field, right? I'm a quantum physicist, so let me, and so we're allowing the energetics of this to come into our body in a deeper way. And so it's a kind of like scientific, obviously there's much more magic to it than just that, but it's a way of understanding that some of the things and the reasons that these are laid out in the way that they were by the rishis and all the incredible the Veda energies from before was because they had a knowledge of this energy through the way that they would journey and see these things and how it connected. And there's studies now with like biogeometry that are coming to show really deeply how all of these are working together. So if it is something that interests you more, you can dive into that on an even deeper level. So it's a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, okay, exactly. Like it's such a fascinating and beautiful thing. And again, like you don't have to know how it works to make it work. That's one of the beautiful things about so many of these processes is like if you want to go down the rabbit hole, you can, like if you want to understand. But in the end, just knowing that I can have instantaneous energy from a certain breath and way that I hold my hands or hold my body through learning, this energy, then that's the power of it. So one of the things that we hear a lot about is like Kundalini awakening, right? That's from different processes. Have you had what most people would call a Kundalini awakening? Does these processes work for that? And what's your take on all of that?
Yeah, I think it's a constant process. You know, I mean, certainly I've had very intense experiences or like moments where I felt like um, some kind of revelations or some big energies moving through me or, you know, these kind of things. But having been on this journey for a long time, I think that it's, you know, our journey towards awakening is ongoing. And when you're using a practice like this over time, you do kind of feel so much change and transformation as becomes normal in a way, you know, and then it's like you're moving in flow with the universe and life just becomes easier, I guess. But I've certainly, you know, in terms of like the heightened feeling of awakening, I have had a few key moments in my life where you know, coming out of 9/11 was a big one for me and finding Kundalini as the it was almost like that was such a big event for me because it completely changed my life direction. And I've had a lot of powerful experiences doing these practices, no doubt. And you never really know when that's going to hit you, or when, sometimes I take a hot bath and I do like pranayamas when I'm in the bath, where I'm doing these different breathing techniques, and I use cold and hot water. And I sometimes go into a completely altered state with this, and it gives me sort of overall wisdom about my life and where I am, or I see things or receive information that I wasn't anticipating, kind of landing at that moment. So I do think it's really mysterious and amazing. And unlike, using substances to reach these other places, it's very healthy and doesn't risk your own well-being in the process, but it's actually building you up towards a more stable foundation, as opposed to just risking whatever might happen down those other roads.
I love that you went there. That, because going into these altered states of consciousness, having those experiences can be really, really beautiful. And we literally, I always say, you are the medicine. You don't need the medicine. Like, we literally have the technology within our bodies. You teach it. You're teaching a technology that you can use within your own body that will bring you into these altered states, that will open your awareness and is healthy for you, that is, awakening. And instead of having to take some sort of altered substance, and I'm not, like, to be clear, I am not, anti plant medicine. I am anti escapism, which I feel is what's happening now in the world of plant medicine and these things, because now it's just another, oh, I'm going to use this, and now I'm going to just, I heard recently somebody that, is big in the plant medicine world, like, did 12 ceremonies in 2 months, and then had a psychotic break and was wondering why. And you're like, well, if I do Kundalini yoga 12 times in 2 months, it's not going to create a psychotic break for me. And so I think this is really beautiful to understand that there are ways, technologies that, like, I love, like, that you said, I used hot and cold and was doing this breath work, and the thing, I mean, I'm a cold plunger, and I love to do the hot and the cold too. So, but I don't think I've ever tried doing the Kundalini with it. So, what a powerful way to look at things and say, if you want to do this, you can work on it, but, and have it in that way.
Yeah. I think the more we can be self-empowered in our own awakening and consciousness exploration, the better, And I have experience in all those other realms, but I know for myself that I'm more stable, more effective, and healthier than I've ever been now in this part of my life, where I'm totally sober, totally vegan, totally all of that stuff, and just doing my practice every morning. And I certainly can relate to there being value in so many different explorations. But I think as the planet's sort of um, changing in such a huge way right now, and a lot of people see it as negative, kind of dissolving. I think it's all the more, yeah, all the more we are needed. Those of us who feel that we're here to help with that shift, and who have these spiritual abilities and capacities and interests. Like, I think it's time for us to really stabilize ourselves. And I know when I was younger, I didn't feel that way. I felt like I want to explore all this stuff and just take the risk of the chaos that's going to ensue from it. And I don't regret that, because I know that that will help me reach people that are in those spaces now. But I think that if we're ready to really stabilize into our capacity and our potential, that it's needed so much on the planet. So, like, let's do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's no judgment around it. I think everybody has a journey, and I think that plant medicine and different things for, like, the trauma, ketamine, things like that, are there to teach you a frequency to help you get over a hump, maybe to get a thing, but not, but, maybe once or twice. Like, I've tried and did all of the things also in my entire life, but I'm also, like you, sober. Like, I don't, because I'm live like I literally, like, my book is called High on Life, a prescription for bliss. Like, I live in a state where I, like, everybody's like, what are you on? And I'm like, I'm high on life, right? That's where we get to have that opportunity to show that we can have these experiences in another way. And there is the forces of those of us that are working with the world that are solidifying and saying, here we are, here, there's all these techniques, there's all these ways that you can get to that, and Kundalini being one of them that you're sharing, right? That we can use this. And yes, those are another pathway, and that might work for, to understand and try this, but there are other pathways also, and you can have this. And so I think it's just a really wonderful conversation to be had right now, to understand that we can really work with these things in a different way. We're going to cue up the last
Hi, my name is Grace Hart. I'm a student of Alexandra's. I've been working with her for many years now, maybe since like 2016 or 17. She's a dear friend and dear teacher, and I just completed Inner Queen with her in the fall and had a super powerful, beautiful experience doing this program with her. Inner Queen is really unique in the way that it's a special space just for women that's really held sacred and pure by Alexandra's energy and by Alexandra's care and attention and the care and attention of everyone else in the group. Alexandra's a super powerful teacher. She has an incredible capacity to use active imagination and breath work and meditation and visualization to really reshape the nervous system and reshape and repattern the way your brain is approaching the concepts that are kind of discussed in the Inner Queen program about self-worth, about self-love, about just valuing yourself and embodying the highest version of yourself. And yeah, I'm immensely grateful to her for this program. The program I began at a time when I was actually trying to transition off of an antidepressant, and yeah, it was really helpful. I don't think I could have transitioned off of the antidepressant without the help of the program to kind of like anchor me into myself, anchor me into my intuition, anchor me into my knowing, and also the immense care that Alexandra offered throughout that process. She's really great about checking in, about following up, about making sure you're just kind of being easy, but also, staying with your program, and it was really good. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Alexandra. Thank you so much for your work and everything you've done for me and all the other Inner Queen community. I love you.
What a powerful way, again, to show that you can be your own medicine, where she was able to come off of her antidepressants and use, this process of working with you and this Kundalini to allow herself to heal. Just incredible, incredible um, the experiences. So we do have a question from the audience, and I want to ask that to you. We're getting to almost to the end here, so any more questions? So this is from Guru Nam, and it says, I wonder if Alexandra has done the meditation for Gu Prasad, so powerful for creation, and I probably slaughtered that. So if I did, I apologize.
I'm not familiar with that specific meditation. Guru Prasad is a friend of mine. There's the woman who has that name, but I don't know the meditation, unless maybe I'd recognize it, but it's not coming up from that name. I'm curious to hear about it. If you want to post it in the chat, that would be great.
Check in with today is they right now, we're in this world that's collapsing. You were talking about collapsing all around us, and yet we have these beautiful ways, and there's this axis you're talking about, like of allowing for like new transformational foundations, this place where creativity and spirituality meet. And I think that you're really doing this really well with creating the Ukraine, the Yogis in Ukraine and the Inner Queen and the Kundalini, this intersection that we have right now going on, and how you're playing into it.
Thank you. It's constantly revealing itself.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about that combination or that you're working with?
Oh, he's responded here. It's part of the Kundalini teachings. Yeah, there's so many meditations in this practice, which I find fascinating because, I've gone through different cycles with my own practice, and there's times that I just like to do the same set again and again. And there's also times when I just like to explore as much as I can. And Kundalini really has the space for that because there's just so much material and it's fascinating, for me. So I'm happy to learn about this meditation that Gurunam's talking about. And there's a few key meditations that I tend to teach a lot. Kirtan Kriya, Sat Kriya. There's certain ones that are said to be, I don't know, I've heard they're some of the more powerful ones. I don't know how you really compare that, but I know the ones that I've used over time again and again, and I've used a lot to help people with specific situations. But I'm also trained in addiction recovery, and I did a workshop, a super health workshop, and kind of learned a lot of tools for that as well. And I think it's really empowering when you start using the yogic lineage and technologies to overcome addictions to substance abuse and just any addiction, really. It doesn't have to be drug related. So that's, I'm only bringing that up because there's just so much, there's so much to access in this lineage. It's really awesome.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom today. What a powerful experience we've had. So honored to have you here. And I want to thank everyone for joining us for a course in Inner Queen, a Kundalini yoga course for women ready to rise with Alexandra Angélique Leeper. And it's available now on the Stream Plus platform. Join Stream Plus now and gain immediate access to this incredible program. You'll get access to the Inner Queen, a Kundalini yoga course for women ready to rise, and our other incredible spiritual teachers and programs. We're proud to say that Humanity's Stream Plus is the largest global streaming platform for consciousness raising masterclasses and transformational education. We are a nonprofit and also give back with our 1-for-1 program, sharing our content with those who cannot afford the membership. I want to thank Steve Farrell, Dee Meyer, and the production team, Jim Gray, Garth Catterall, Nanette Kennedy, Kennedy Matheler, Karen Weiser, and the rest of Humanity's team. It's been such a wonderful blessing to have you all here with us today, and especially thanks to you, Angela.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.